All right, today we're talking about building an operations manual. And I get it, I can almost hear you groaning. An operations manual? Really? But stick with me here, because what if I told you that that boring manual is actually the key to your freedom, the key to your agency thriving without you? Let's dive in.
So let me ask you a question, a really important one. If you had to step away from your agency tomorrow, for a week, maybe even a month, what would happen? Would it keep humming along or would it just fall apart? Now, be honest. If that question makes your stomach clench even a little bit, then you are in exactly the right place.
Okay, here it is. This is the big idea for everything we're about to cover. Think of your operations manual as your agency's brain. And I mean that literally. This isn't just some dusty binder you stick on a shelf and forget about. No, this is the living, breathing consciousness of your entire business.
So what does this brain actually do? Well, think about it. Right now, without one, every single decision, every little problem, every question, it all has to go through you, right? You end up being the bottleneck for everything. The brain, the central nervous system, is what changes all that. It's what lets your agency think for itself, act on its own, and, most importantly, grow without you having to be there 24/7. Okay, so how in the world do you start building a brain for your business? Well, you start with its personality, its core identity. You have to define the fundamental character, the very soul of your agency, because that's what's going to guide every single thing it does from here on out. And the very first piece of that personality is your agency overview and mission statement. This is the brain's reason for being. It's the why behind everything you do. It's that core belief system that answers the big question, why are we even here? This becomes a North Star for every decision your agency ever makes. So take a second and think about that. What is your agency's real why?
All right, once you know your why, you need to define the how. That's where your core policies come in. These are the brain's values. It's non-negotiables. Think of them as the rules of the road for your agency. For example, a core policy could be something simple but powerful, like we respond to every client email within 4 hours, period. That's it. It's an ethical compass that tells everyone on your team how to act, what you stand for, no matter who's at the helm.
So, we've got the personality, the core identity, all set. Now it's time to start wiring everything up for daily operations. This is where we move from the big ideas, the why, to the nitty-gritty of how. We're basically creating muscle memory for the agency's brain, building those automatic routines that deliver consistent, high-quality results day in and day out.
And that muscle memory really boils down to 3 key things. First step, SOPs, or standard operating procedures. Don't let the fancy name fool you. All this means is writing down the best way to do things. That's it. Like, what are the exact steps for onboarding a new client so it's a fantastic experience every single time? Next, you've got staffing guidelines, which is just about getting the right people in the right seats. And finally, scheduling procedures to make sure everyone's time is used effectively. When you get these 3 things wired together, you get predictable, amazing results.
Okay, the daily operations are wired up and firing. But a brain doesn't just operate in a vacuum, right? It has to communicate with the outside world and needs to protect itself from threats. So for our final section, we're going to build out the brain's language centers and its protective instincts. Let's start with your essential forms and templates. You can think of these as the brain's standardized toolkit. A caregiver checklist, for example, isn't just a piece of paper. It's your guarantee that care is consistent and high quality every time. An incident form. That's what ensures that if something goes wrong, the response is calm and systematic instead of chaotic and full of panic. Standardizing these tools is how you get rid of confusion and crush the potential for error. Next up, let's talk about the voice of your agency. This is so important. Your client communication protocols define what that voice sounds like. The goal is to make sure that whether a client is talking to you or emailing your newest hire, the tone, the speed of the reply, the entire vibe is exactly the same. That consistency is what makes you look professional and reliable. And you know what? That's how you build real, lasting trust. And last, but absolutely not least, every brain needs a shield, a defense mechanism. For your agency, that shield is your compliance checklist. And please, don't think of this as some boring, check-the-box task you do once. It's a living, breathing system that is constantly scanning for risks, making sure you're operating safely, legally, and protecting the most important things you have, your business, your clients, and your reputation. And this right here, this quote really says it all. This is the ultimate payoff. It gets to the very heart of why we're even talking about this. You're not just creating a bunch of documents. What you're really building is freedom. You're building operational independence.
Because that's the real goal, isn't it? It's about this transformation. By building your agency's brain, you finally get to shift your role. You go from being the chief operator, the person stuck in the weeds doing everything, to being a true owner. An owner of a valuable, self-sufficient asset that grows even when you're not there.
So that brings us to the final and maybe most important question. A brain isn't built all at once, right? It's built one connection, one neuron at a time. So looking back at everything we've just covered, I want you to think, what's the first neuron you're going to build for your agency's brain? What's that one policy, that one SOP, that one small piece you can start with today?